Okay. All right. So, welcome, everybody. I'd like to introduce you to Marcus. About 3 years ago, I was on the other side and being interviewed by Marcus. I don't think he needs much of an introduction, but let's do a little one for now. So, Marcus, you have your podcast. You're a senior business analyst. You're also a consultant. You're also a strategist, and you also look at project management. So, there's quite a lot going on in that space, and you really are quite a leader in that area. So it's a great privilege to have you join me today. Thank you very much. Let's get going. So, Marcus, let's start with tell our viewers a little bit about you. Like, what makes you tick, and who's Marcus? So, who's the man behind the brand? And tell us a little bit more.
Things that you said about me are quite correct. They didn't all happen at one time or in a vacuum. And it's 2 years here, 2 years there. So it took many years to play many roles. And I think it all started when I was in university. My second last year of university, I've had a friend of mine who co-opted me to join a computer science club. And I knew nothing about computer programming or computer science. I was an English major studying to be a teacher, an English teacher. And that year, I think that one summer changed my life forever and brought me to where I am today, or at least it was the beginning of the path of where I am today. And I learned quite a bit of programming during that summer, only to land a small web developer job my last year in university. And by the time I graduated, I was working at an IT help desk and as a computer technician with a small startup company. And I thought, maybe this is what I should do. Maybe English is not where it's at for a job. So I decided to sign up for college. And I went to Seneca Polytechnic to study computer networking. It was after my first year at Seneca College in Toronto. It used to be Seneca College. They renamed it to Seneca Polytechnic. After my first year, I got a job as a web developer at IBM, the main office in Toronto. And I say web developer, it was web developer / business analyst, but not the type of business analyst that we have today. And soon after that, I think 2.5, 3 years after that, I got a job at the University of Toronto downtown at their St. George campus. And I worked as a business systems analyst to help support a registration application. And so I had that job at the University of Toronto, and I happened to get a teaching job, a part-time teaching job at Seneca Polytechnic. So I did those two jobs together for about 5 years. And I think that was what helped build the foundation for understanding a bit about programming, at least on the database side, understanding entity relationship diagrams, how to do interface support for end users, how to run SQL queries, all that kind of stuff I learned during that period. And if you ever want to have a lot of time to learn, get a government job like with the university. You got tons of time on your hands, and that's what I did during those 5 years. And it wasn't until somewhere in the late 2007-ish, 2008-ish, I got a job with a mortgage software company in Toronto. And that's where I became the business analyst that's closer to what we do today. I was a technical business analyst. We were on a project with a project manager. We had a PMO office. We had database administrators that only did databases. They didn't do cross-functional work. And so that's where I really started to learn about projects and product development and how software companies work. And after that, I moved here to Calgary and got a job as a Salesforce business analyst with a land banking company. And that's, again, where I learned more about SQL servers, how to run queries, Tableau, all that kind of stuff, how to do dashboards and so on. So it was a slow progress of growth into this modern day business analyst role. That's me in a nutshell.
Okay. So, what inspired you to do your podcast? What inspired you to go even further than that?
I I had left business analysis. I went off, I finally got a teaching job. I was teaching English, not really English, it was debating and public speaking. I got a job in China with a university, and I took off to do this. And it was during COVID, I had to come back. And when my
Mm.
contract ended, I thought, I better find a job. What do I do? What do I know? Oh, wait, I know a bit of business analysis. So I thought I have to get back into this space, but I have to go deeper than what I did in the past. And that's when
Mm.
I started the podcast.
Which is awesome, by the way, and it was timed as well. So that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go through your career because it seems you've been all over the place. I know that you've done a lot of traveling. You've been to many countries. You also had like a, could you call it a sabbatical? What was the journey that you went on across America? Is
Oh,
that correct?
and I cycled. I took summer off
Yes,
and
you
I
said.
bicycled across Canada. Yeah. A long
Right.
life dream that I had thought about in university and never took it to fruition until I decided I'm just going to do it now or never.
I saw that and I thought, wow, that's pretty impressive. So kudos. Have there been any experiences or turning points that have really shaped your career? So you've spoken about going to China, going and doing teaching and all of those things. But is there anything you could pin down that was like a massive aha moment for you?
A massive aha moment. I think it these aha moments don't really just come out like this. I think they
Mm.
gradually develop and you come up with a small aha moment here and one small one there. And I think that looking back, I'll probably have to say I finally got to do many of the things I didn't have time for because I was working so hard. And another big aha moment is when I was juggling two or three jobs and you have such a high stress level, you think, I really need to take it down 1,000. I need to have time for me. When you're up in the morning and you spend that half an hour downstairs in your gym exercising, that's me time. And now I can get on with my day and pay attention to everything and everyone else. I have to go to sleep at 9 o'clock. I have to get my 8 hours of sleep. It's nice to keep working, but not if it involves sickness.
Yeah, it's true. It's hard to find the balance. I find it quite hard myself because I'm not a gym bunny, despite what anyone might think. I'm definitely not one of those. So, in your own words, could you maybe describe what you think the importance of business analysis is, or not just business analysis, but being able to do strategies, being able to look at change in organizations, look at the way that we do things, how we manage projects? What do you think around those areas?
I think the most important thing is the element of change. We are business analysts, or business analysis in general is really a conduit of change. And practicing business analysis, that's what we do. We're purveyors of change. So if I can show you a screenshot
Yeah.
of something that will make the explanation maybe a bit easier. Okay, so you see in front of you just a little mind map, and
Mhm.
it tells us that business analysis, first and foremost, we are as a conduit of change, we are purveyors of change. It bridges the gap between business objectives and technical solutions. It allows us to be strategic partners, leaders, communicators. It uncovers business problems before they occur, we hope. It exists throughout the life cycle from end to end
Mhm.
on a project. And you can work in various industries practicing business analysis. And that could be government, it could even be finance or sports, it could be oil and gas or manufacturing. And I've also got here IT or healthcare. There's a whole bunch of them out there. I've only listed a few. And I think that when we have that overall understanding of the importance of the BA role, it makes it easier to know where we're starting and where we're going.
Mm.
I also want to add that I think that the importance of the role involves a few other things. Are you aligning with business goals on your projects? You're not going off at a tangent somewhere else. Are you able to identify potential risks? Some people can look at a diagram and they can't tell you what the risk will be down a week from now or 3 weeks from now if we take this path.
Yeah.
If you're given a graph in front of you, or first of all, can you even create a graph that gives you these data insights? And when you look at it, can you interpret it? Oh, this
Mm.
means this gives us value if we make this decision versus this decision. And can you clearly communicate with your stakeholders by validating and verifying the requirements and specifications? Because if you're able to extract, if you're able to elicit information, but you can't validate it or verify it, then what's the point in having
Yeah.
that information, right?
Mm.
A couple of more things, I think, analyzing business processes. Can you take a workflow and say, if we take this piece out, we put this piece in, or we take this chunk out here, it'll make this process flow so much more efficiently. That's a skill in itself. And then I think also just being able to adapt to it. So any new technology, any new methodologies or things like that. So I think that would pretty much sum up the role of a BA. We're here to help with strategic goals. We're here to help companies stay competitive. We're here to respond to any market changes and so on. And we do so by communicating effectively. I think that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, I think it would lean to that. Do you see, maybe let me ask you a slightly different question. Do you see the role, in other words, do you think that, and I'm preluding some of my question that I'll ask around the future, but in your experience, do you see that the role has evolved in itself, or is it pretty much the same tools and techniques and approaches and thinking as it always has been from when you started to what today?
I like this question because I'm going to use a good analogy. I hope it's a good analogy. Do you remember those things called records? Remember those
Yes.
little black things with a needle that played music? And
Yes,
long
I don't want
before
to
my
give away my age, but yes, I do remember.
long before at least my mother's generation, there were these 78 sticker records. And then we had, and during my era, we had 33 and a thirds, then we had 45 records, which was one song on one side and another song on another side. And then we went on to other types of technology like 8-track tapes and cassette tapes. And then we move on to CDs and DVDs. And then we moved on to Nanos, a little device that held a little Apple device that held all your music. And then now much of this music is on the cloud. It's on Spotify or other apps that you can buy a single. You can buy one single piece of music on this app as opposed to having to buy a record that had two singles on either side. And I think that has taken, 75 years maybe to go through those changes. And at each point, we're on a different platform. Each point, we're on a different technology. At each point, we have a different way of running business. But the music's still there. We're still listening to music, it's just in a different form. We're still doing business analysis, but it's in a slightly different form. And every time we create a new product, every time we create a new service, every time we add a functionality to a product. And so if you look back many years, it helps us know what will happen in 5, 10, 15 years from now. We don't have mainframes anymore. At least we don't use the term mainframes. We used to have dummy terminals with computers that accessed this big machine. Well, guess what? We have not client server-based apps anymore where you have an intelligent machine. We now have cloud-based apps, and that's just an extension of mainframes. Large machines somewhere else in the world, and they're not those softwares aren't installed on our hardware. Again, business analysts have been involved with those transitional changes, different technologies, different platforms, different ways of thinking to create that service or that product for customers. Will we do things differently? Yes. But we're still going to be clarifying processes. We're still going to be creating business requirements. We're still going to be giving detailed specifications. We're still providing clarity for that product, trying to eliminate understanding between the development team and the business. We're still eliminating those gaps. Yes, things will be different. How different? I don't know. But definitely we have to be able to adapt to those changes to be able to create those products for customers. That's what I think.
Mm. Yeah, I'd agree with you. I think that the basic skills are not going to change fundamentally. I think some of the activities, like for instance, if you look at maybe the over engineering of paperwork, right? I think that will change and that will definitely impact for those who've just been document creators versus those who've been knowledge workers. That's quite significant because people see the role as these are the artifacts that have been produced, but actually the role is more around the ability to reason through the change that is occurring and to be able to gather knowledge, not just information, knowledge. So, yeah, I can see that there will be some changes in providing new skills and refining knowledge working. But I do think those who've relied on their job just being around documentation are going to face different challenges.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, definitely, for sure. You have to grow not just your role, but you have to add more value, I think, to a company to gain growth, to gain personal growth, and to allow your company to grow. And it's not going to just come from only documenting, only doing requirements.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know of an initiative or business analysis project that was really critical to the business outcomes? We often talk about there's lots of project failures, and I think of the top three reasons, one of the reasons for project failures are not good requirements. But do you have a good news story that you could potentially share with us?
In my case, there was a project that I was on not too long ago where we had, I don't want to call it an antiquated system. I think it had just been there historically. We had different departments running different software. So we had customer service here, we had HR here, they had their own software. We had volunteers here on this software. And I think over time, a department got created and new software got created to build the department, to manage the department. But there was no central software that managed all these apps. And my job as a VA was to help implement this central management system of some sort. Call it their own homegrown ERP. So the big challenge for me as a VA was to communicate with all these siloed departments that didn't want to give you information. And I give you one example. Each department had contractors. And each department, usually contractors go through HR, but not at this place. They each had their own separate contractors, and no department wanted you to know how much they were paying each contractor. I don't need to know that. But if you build a software that's going to be centrally accessing our information, it can't access that particular personal information because this is a bit of politics involved here. Nobody wanted to know that this department was paying this amount for this contractor and another department was paying more for that contractor. So you have to allay the fears of those stakeholders and make sure that these changes can occur. But you had people who had been working here for many decades and they didn't want to change. So that can be a huge challenge, I think, for any VA or any manager, but particularly for me in that case. So,
I can imagine. Because this is the thing that people don't realize. Projects aren't only about delivering, again, artifacts. It's about working with people, managing concerns. It's not an easy road to take at all. Working with people is probably the hardest part of a project.
And just relating to the previous question you asked me, that one commonality over many decades is people. You have to
Mhm.
deal with, because we're working at a place where people come from different backgrounds, could be different ethnic backgrounds. They definitely have different socioeconomic backgrounds. They definitely have different ideas about how to run things. And you have to accommodate all this, or you have to work through this, not a quagmire, it's just a bubble of stuff.
Mm.
you have to,
Yeah,
you have to
yeah.
work through this maze to try and get things done.
Hmm.
Um, and so that, yeah, it's always, and I think that's the skill. Some people have a really good skill at this, and some people have to be trained to do this.
Mm.
Sometimes it comes naturally, but it's a skill. And I think that helps you get your job done so much better if you can navigate the winds of change and understand people.
Mm. It was funny because you interviewed Vince recently. I also interviewed him and we spoke about the challenge of working with stakeholders because stakeholders, if you're an introvert, which I am, by the way, and so he said he has to go and sleep for a few hours after. So are you an introvert or an extrovert? Do you need to go have a nap after engaging with stakeholders?
I thought about this recently, and I never was an introvert by nature. And I think I joined clubs in high school to try and overcome this problem. But as I got to university, it was still a problem. And it took a long time to learn how to interact with people. And it sounds like it just works for me now, but it took a long time to learn this. And I think joining the debating club at school helped a lot, being able to speak effectively. Years later, I joined Toastmasters, but the fear was really, it took those 4 years of debating and public speaking to help to overcome that problem. And for a while, I was okay. I was okay in the crowd for years. But recently, it's become a problem again. It's resurfaced. And I go into a room and I think, I just want to get this stuff done.
Yeah,
It's done. But then I have to pull back. No, you went through training on this. You got to just take it down 1,000.
yeah,
So every once in a while, like this problem in my head comes back.
yeah.
Learn
No,
how to deal with it.
I understand. And the thing is, you actually do get energy out of the engagement, even if you are an introvert, right? You do gain energy from it in some way, but it's the amounts, the volume that might be a little bit overwhelming. But yes, I suppose there's multiple, and this is why I say the essence of a business analyst is on that engagement piece. Obviously you have to be, a systems thinker and you have to understand context and all those things that you would assume, but the hardest bit is managing all the variety of stakeholders that you have to engage with that you might not even agree with.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say, I have a book here. You can see it by Ilya Kosarenko, The Business Analyst Mindset. And there's a number of things at the back that list the mindset. There's about 12 things. Solving the right problem, focusing on business, and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, she emphasizes a shared understanding.
Mm.
And when you say you might not agree with people, you might not agree with this shared understanding, but sometimes you have to get the job done.
Yeah.
The assumption is not, oh, shared understanding, everybody agrees. No, not always. It's
Yeah. It's not an automatic. Yes.
not automatic. So,
Let's talk about there's a lot of stuff happening, right? We've got AI, obviously the big contender in this future, roles shifting. We've got economy changes. We've just gone through COVID, which we all work from home. So the way that we work in is also changing. What do you think? What does the future look like for you?
I think we're still going to I'll still be translating, facilitating business solutions. I'll still be helping to solve business problems, but they might be in a slightly different vein. I think that I'll still be trying to find exceptions and risks and constraints on projects. and I'll still be that conduit between people and processes and products, I think. But what does the future look like? I think that, let's see, there will be certainly a stronger emphasis on AI, I think, being able to interpret AI insights. There's a lot of stuff on AI out there, especially generative AI, and it's been around for a while. By a while, at least 10, 20 years or more, but it's peaked at this point now, especially with generative AI, and it's a big thing. So how do you sift through all these AI results and gain those deeper insights? I think that's certainly one.
Mm.
We talked about how you can't just focus on gathering requirements. You have to be able to know how to need deeper data literacy, I think, when it comes to not just running those queries and not just being able to interpret the data, but being able to answer how does this data affect decisions at the strategic level. And you mentioned I interviewed Vince and we talked a bit about this. And he says, if you want to be a noticeable player, you need to bring in that strategy. And I know that you're big into business architecture. I think that's certainly a part and parcel. If you're at that architecture level, you're able to work with higher level decision makers and maybe add a certain degree of higher value to the company. So in other words, you might be on their hit list of he needs or she needs to stay here in this group at this company to help us. I think there will be a stronger emphasis on agile, especially with more software development. So you have to have a stronger mindset on continuous improvement. Right? And the other big thing is we've got tons of devices. We've got laptops now. We've also got cell phones and tablets. And with all these cloud-based apps, we're also doing cloud-based banking. And I read an article on the BBC not too long ago about a Visa company having millions of their customers' Visa cards hacked. So they had to reissue a number of these Visa cards. Deep on this list for BAs, I think, is understanding data privacy, data ethics, and being able to wrap your head around data governance frameworks. That will be huge, and it's just going to get bigger the deeper we get into cloud apps, I think. So that's my take on it, I think.
It's very interesting. There's two things. So I agree with you on a better understanding of the risks, cybersecurity, and those kind of things, and then managing data, because people still don't fully understand that bad data leads to bad outputs. That's all related in AI, etc. But you mentioned be more agile, and Vince likes to drop the ball on the agile, but so when you say be more agile, maybe if you could expand a little bit around what you think about that, because we have methodologies, but we also have a way of thinking.
Yes. I think these agile frameworks or agile methodologies, there's going to be a stronger emphasis on them. Maybe I should take back the word be more agile. And one good explanation of this, a software company comes along and they have a strategy on a software they're going to build. And it never starts out the way they plan. Amazon never started out selling the products that they do or having the service that they do. Maybe it was a book club or something like that, and it changed over time. It changes through feedback, and that's where the agility element comes in. You build a product, you give it out to your clients, you get lots of feedback, and you start tweaking that product. So maybe when you say be more agile, maybe that's what I'm focusing on.
Yeah.
But there's a stronger element, there will be a stronger element on agile methodologies and agile frameworks. I think we've moved from this project mindset to more of a product mindset. We're customer focused now. It's all about understanding customers' needs and behaviors. And this comes down to this feedback again, right? And we're using data to help enhance that customer journey, right? That type of thing. So maybe that's what I mean. It's all about value creation and how do we create this value as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and I do think that AI is helpful in that sense because you can speed up the rate of gathering information. And so you can get more done, right?
Yeah.
Because that's one of the big pain points with projects. It takes so long sometimes. Yeah.
At a rapid rate of development. Yeah, rapid
Yeah.
rate. I was going to mention you've got an AI app out.
Yes.
Forgot to say, I forgot not
It,
Adoy. I
yeah.
forgot. Please correct me.
Its name is
Aiden. There we go. Aiden.ai. Now I went to the website and I looked at this. This is some powerful stuff. It can build templates and things that I haven't seen in other generative AI apps. So that just takes it to a completely different level.
Thanks, Marcus. Yes, what I realized when I started really investigating AI a lot more deeply was that people think of it as a tool, but it's actually a resource. And it's quite a fundamental shift in thinking because you can train a resource. A tool comes as it is. And so we looked at kind of the application that we're building as a Swiss Army knife of all the things you can do. But yeah, thanks for calling that out. It's been a work in progress for some time, and I'm very pleased that it's now been released. We've still got a bit to do, but I'm
Nice.
very happy.
No, it is. It really changes the game. It really changes the game. It just you can get some information at a basic level that you need right here, right now, without having to search for it, without having to try to take weeks or days to create it. It's right there. Now, what's the next step?
Yeah,
So
yeah. And it'll just keep growing. AI is just the rate of growth has been astounding. Every week there's another thing, and you're going, man, I just need a break. You're like, what's the next thing that's coming? But I do think it's going to be so important for people, any knowledge worker, whether you're a project manager, a BA, enterprise architect, it won't matter. If you're a knowledge worker, you're going to have to learn how these things work. You don't have to be a programmer, but you need to understand this concept of a resource over just another tool that you can use.
that's true. No, I do agree.
Yeah,
I
it's
do.
going to affect people's roles. Like it's that simple, and those who learn it will have an advantage. And it's just how economics work. Business owners like to streamline things and make it simpler. So if you have the skills and the acumen, well, anyway, that's my point of view.
I think you're 100% right. I don't know if it'll take over like the internet did, but it definitely will be big.
Yeah. Yeah, who knows? And you did web development, as you said, in your early days, and it took some time for adoption. It wasn't like just immediately everyone's getting a website. There was still a bit of coaxing to be done, but now no one even considers not having one. Like it's not even a thing. And personally, I think the change is going to be maximum 5 years, to be honest. I think it's going to be that fast. But I'm an optimist, so that
Well,
might be.
you're deeper into AI than I am. I picked it up. I tried talking about adapting to change. I tried not to look at it for a long time. I said, what is this AI thing? And I thought, no, I need to be open to this change. And so I've dug into it a bit, but certainly nowhere near as deep as you have.
Mm,
But definitely, I would recommend people to definitely embrace it, be open to it,
mm.
because it's not going away.
Yeah, it's not going away. Definitely not. Any challenges or opportunities you're working on at the moment?
Lots.
Uh-huh.
I have the YouTube channel still.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get a new contract going for my full-time job. I'm in the process of working with some partnership of some sort, so that's in the works. And I'm trying to run a business. So I don't know how I can do all these things, but that's my biggest challenge is juggling all these things. You can't.
Yeah.
This is where project management comes in. You really have to start delegating and
Mm,
more than currently.
mm.
So
Yes,
that's
yeah.
my
But that's the life of a business owner, right?
Yeah, I know. It's not for everyone, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I agree. It isn't for everybody. And having some good business partners is also really helpful to share that load. But good luck with your projects and all of the things that you're busy with. I think it'll come, what? Life has a way of working out. So that's my philosophy, really, if you want to call it a philosophy.
Right? We hope.
Okay, so let's talk about business analysts who really want to get into the career of this sounds cool. I want to get into it. And I know a lot of people probably approach you as well and go, can I get a job? That kind of thing, which is not what I'm talking about here. But what advice would you give to somebody who really wants to get into the field of business analysis? What are the key things?
The first and foremost, before anything, is have a plan. And you have to think, even before you get to think of increasing your value as a BA to a company, start with a plan. Figure out where you are today,
Mm,
where you want to be tomorrow. And that doesn't have to be 10 years from now. Tomorrow doesn't have to be 10 years. It could be next year. It could be 2 or 3 years from now.
mm,
You probably could try building a journey map. You can even Google journey maps. There's many types of journey maps online, but it gives you a path to start with. And
mm.
it's not written in stone. It will change and can change. You should probably review this once a year or once every few months. So let me give you an example of what I mean by a journey map. I'm going to share my
Mm.
screen with you.
Yeah.
Now, can you see that?
Yes.
That is my idea of a journey map. It starts off with a beginner BA. Let's give it 2 years to learn how to do that. You want to learn foundational skills, maybe complete some BA training, maybe some free online classes are there for you. And then you get to the point where you say, I want to get to an intermediate step in my third or fourth year. You're going to ask your employer, can I work on larger projects?
Mm,
Can I start leading a small team, for example? Maybe at this time you feel you want to study for your ECBA certification. I feel this is what I want to do in my life now. And this takes you to an advanced stage after some experience, maybe in your fifth or sixth year. And you finally say, I'm going to get the CCBA or maybe the CBAP certification, start mentoring junior analysts.
mm-hmm.
And maybe if you want to get into a senior level, you're now on larger projects. You get to the senior level and you decide you're going to have a talk with your employer. I now feel that I'm ready for this role. Can I help you with some strategic planning? This is an idea I had. Can I shadow someone, for example? This is just a small example of a timeline with milestones along the way to check to help you validate your success. And you figure out what outcomes you want. What is it? Do you want to stay at that BA level? Or do you want to go into a senior role? Or do you want to go into management, this kind of thing? And that, after experiencing working on a team or in a company, you'll get that feeling after the first or second or third year. Oh yeah, this is where I want to go. But if you don't
Nice.
have a plan, I think you'll be stuck. You'll be all over the map, right?
And
So that
there's
have a plan.
saying, there's a saying, what if you don't plan, uh, you plan to fail, something like that. I can't
Oh
remember
yes,
the.
yes. If you don't plan, you plan to fail. Yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah.
basically it. That's a famous project management saying. Yeah, if you don't plan, then you plan to fail. And I was going to also add to that. A lot of people don't think about BAs creating portfolios. I think a portfolio is a godsend. If you're able to show this, and by the way, some people will say, "Oh, I'm not in a job. I'm not working. I don't know how to create a portfolio." But you can go on the internet and look for what's a wireframe, start building one, and then take a screenshot of
Yeah.
this and put it on PowerPoint. That's the first page of your portfolio. Or use Visio if you're better at that, or Miro. What's a scenario analysis? What's a use case? Work on it. Put it into your, have 5 or 6 of these slides, go to an interview, And you can say, oh, by the way, I was working on this project. You don't have to tell them it wasn't at a job. I was working on this project, and these are the kind of things I do, and this is how I gather information. This is how I give it to the development team, and this is the value that I add. People, you've created clarity on something that some people might think is very complex. And you're going to stand out because how many people show a portfolio in an interview, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so these are some things you can do to move your career along the way.
Yeah. I just saw your T-shirt, by the way.
Oh, yeah, right. That's the problem I have. That's it.
It's really funny. Okay, let's go to our last question, which is my favorite question of all. If you could go back in time and give Marcus some advice, what would it be?
Have that journey map that I just showed you. That's one, because I never did that when I was younger. I did that at my older age. I think also there are so many resources now like Agora Insights and their dashboard. I signed up for your business analysis library, your business architecture library, and there's a small course that moves the BA into the business architecture field. So I'm gonna just share this screen with you because this can show you what I signed up for. So hopefully you can see that on the screen, I hope.
Yep, that looks familiar.
Looks familiar. And let's open up the business analysis library since we're talking about business analysis. And what you've done, which I think is really nice, is you've detailed a lot of the chapters in the BABUP. And as you open each chapter section, you've got videos and PDF files one can download just to give you a high level understanding of what these requirements and tools and techniques are. And you've done the same thing with the business architecture library. Just show that out. Strategy, products, there's some links there for everyone and so on. All the modules, chapters show that. And something similar with the business analyst to business architect. The good thing that is, if I want to leave with a note, I'd say sign up for this information because it gets you started. And even if you're not new to the field, it can fill in some gaps. And if you want more information, obviously there's courses that you offer and whatnot, but this is the starting point. So that's one point. Secondly, don't be committed, I think, to stay in just one industry like IT or just one job role like a BA. I think business analysis really is everywhere. It exists in different roles and different titles. You could be a financial analyst, you could be an economics analyst, you could be a data analyst. So seek out to be a change maker using your BA skills in different roles in different industries. That's two. And three, a lot of people are afraid of growing. So don't be afraid of greatness and understand whether you prefer to be that junior BA or the upstart BA, the intermediate and the senior, or whether you want to move into management, go into a directorship, or maybe you prefer the consultant role, or you might want to try maybe a bit of all these. Nobody's going to sit down with you at a job and tell you what these options are. You got to seek out and find them. And sometimes for some people, it takes years. So you can throw that into the journey map, where you want to go and how you're going to get there and make it happen. Because nothing will come of nothing, right? There will be no result if there's no action. So
you do at the end of the day, you've got to do stuff. It's quite funny. One of my friends, her name's Jacinda, not the Prime Minister of New Zealand, another one. She said, "Doers must do," and it was funny because we made quite a few jokes around this. Thinkers must think, and project managers must project manage, and it's like the purpose. It was a joke because when you choose your dog breeds, right? Dogs breeds do very specific things, right? So you get the lapdog, which doesn't really want to do anything else than hang out with the owner, my favorite type of dogs. And then you get the Jack Russell that's just go, right? And is not afraid of height or anything along those lines and dominates the scene, right? And despite it being small, it's really busy. And so we linked some of the stuff to this profile of doers must do, and so forth. And to what you're saying, what made sense to me was if people understand what drives them, for instance, if you're a doer, sometimes you might be doing the wrong things just because you have to do something.
Yeah.
But if you're too much of a thinker and don't get to doing anything,
Oh, yeah.
it's also a bad thing, right? So
Oh,
you got to really understand your puppy style that and work through that. But yes, the doers must do was such a insight, and it was just something that just happened. It wasn't like this
I
spark
think that,
of
yeah, not as, I think that's amazing. Doers must do. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it's not a spark of just ingenuity up front.
yes,
It's a building into that. It's all part of the growth, I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, Marcus, if someone wants to get in touch with you, so you've got your podcast, The Inquisitive Analyst, you have consulting, all of those. What are the best channels to actually get hold of you? And what are the options for users who want to know a little bit more around Marcus and what you can do and maybe have some further conversation?
Good question. LinkedIn is the first, I'd say. I do have an email on the podcast, but just go to LinkedIn because it's got links to everything. And if you want to do mentoring, I do that too. Actually, I do it through a group here in the city called CRYEC.
Mm.
And it's a volunteer role that I play. I don't get paid for it. And I help upstart BAs and PMs, usually newcomers to Canada, help them into getting, I don't help them get a job. I just help them get that resume together and get the covering letter together. We go through mock interviews together and we try and build this journey map that I talked about for their career. And I help them with portfolios as well. That certainly, if you're interested in that, by all means, feel free to give me a call, or to, if you're here in Calgary, go through CRYEC. There's a similar group in Toronto called TRIEC, TRIEC. And I don't know of any other cities in Canada that run them, but I'm sure they have something similar. But certainly feel free to reach out.
That's awesome. And I was just chatting recently, and the value of a mentor is so important. Being able to take somebody through that journey with confidence, I think that's the most important thing, is that confidence, because otherwise you have that constant fear of imposter syndrome.
I still have it once in a while. I think we all do.
Yeah, it's normal. But at
Yeah.
least when you can confirm with somebody else, then you know, okay, I'm not as crazy as I thought I was. I actually, so that's great. That's great.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on the show. It's been a
Yeah.
great chit chat. We should do this more often.
Yeah, I know. And last time when you interviewed me, I think we spoke for about an hour afterwards. That
Something
was a lot of
something
fun.
yeah, something like that.
Yes. But Marcus, thanks so much for joining me today and giving us your time and sharing your insights and all you're doing for your community. And there's quite a lot happening. So I truly appreciate it. And hopefully we will get to chat to each other soon. And next time I'm in Canada, I'm not saying I'm going to go all the way to where you are, but I'll try to put in the effort to say hi.
If you're even in Vancouver or Toronto, give me a call. Vancouver is not too far away, and I'm usually in Toronto once or twice a year. So
Okay, sweet.
great.
All right, been great.